Of a warm-up at the back of the mat. We will have our walking meditation. It'll be about 3 this time now, and we're focusing on some standing balancing poses. We went through tree and chair. Today we're going to try a wide-legged forward fold. And so having maybe a chair nearby, if it's difficult for you to fold over, just having that chair nearby, or blocks so you can land your hands somewhere. We'll try to get a twist in while we're in there if possible. And then we'll make our way down to the floor for something on the mat. And hopefully if you're using the chair, you can still partake in that Shavasana stage and the cooling down stage. Just, make sure that you're in the seated position as we usually have you. Anyhow, we'll get to that when we're there. So starting at the back of the mat. You don't have to change the quality of your breath. As we arrive, we're just trying to come here, feel the mat under the feet. Just notice how the body is feeling. If you've been on a lot of springtime walks, hikes, just a lot of activity, and your legs are tight, keep that gentle bend to the knees. The deeper the bend, the tighter the legs. And eventually, as we return to our home base of mountain, each iteration will bring us a little longer and taller into our home base pose. So let's begin with the breath now. We'll start cultivating our yogic breath, bringing the palm to rest on the chest and another palm underneath the belly button. Give yourself a little more time to inhale now as you breathe through the nose. And then you briefly pause before you slowly exhale through the nose. And once more that brief pause before the next breath cycle begins. Each inhale, see if you can feel the energy lifting the body, gathering from the feet up the spine, collarbones, hand lifting at the top of the inhale. On the slow exhale, feel that energy reverse direction, leaving the body, feeling just a little more rooted in the legs. That gentle belly hand pressing in to help expel the air. Engage your core at the bottom of the exhale. And as we cultivate that more yogic breath, see if you can widen the space at the back of the throat and bring the sound of a sigh, the ocean, something that gives you an audible sound as you inhale as well as exhale. All right, and then we can just relax our arms at our side. Give yourself a nice gentle bounce at the knees if you need. We'll start to inhale slowly. Imagine once more the energy drawing from the mat, from the feet, up the body, through to the crown of the head and beyond. Reverse order, coming back down. See if you can lengthen through the legs, pressing, internally rotating the thighs, pressing the big pad of the foot down, just a little more. With the next inhale, we're going to start to tip the weight towards the toes. Feel that center of gravity shifting. Fully inhaled here. Let's go ahead and slowly start to exhale the breath back towards the heels. And just feel that movement until you feel that tipping point way at the back, at the heels. And as you breathe forward and back, notice how the body responds to that change, that slow change at the soles of the feet, your center of gravity. And then we'll meet at center, back at mountain. And you can reset the mountain however you'd like. You can bounce a little bit. You can Just imagine once more lengthening all the way up through the crown of the head. And as we're completely inhaled, top of the head lifting towards the ceiling, let's just shift the weight at the outer right side of our feet. At the soles of the feet, our center just shifts towards the right. We can inhale up to center or all the way to the other side. Decide if a two-part breath, just inhaling to one side and exhaling to the other, or a three-part breath is good for you. Inhaling to the center while you exhale to either side. But try to keep the body nice and long, feeling that roll at the sides of the feet until we meet back at center once more, at top of the ankles, near to the heels. Go ahead and sink into your mountain, reset as you need. You can always roll to the tips of the toes and back to the heels. And then we're going to inhale, lengthen through our mountain once more. Feel that nice lengthening from the inner arches, outer arches, all the way to the crown of the head. Start making circles at the ankles, small circles. The body is nice and long, one unit, but we're sort of stirring the pot, if you will. Starting at the ankles, radiating outwards towards the feet, the perimeter of the feet. And once you identify that, go ahead and tighten in the circles. Notice how the body feels as you return back to center, like water going down a drain. Go ahead and reset the mountain if you need to, feet about hips distance apart. Inhale nice and tall. And we make small circles in the opposite direction while still feeling uplifted. It can be a subtle movement, it can be a larger movement, but you may notice it's different on this side. Maybe a little choppier. Just notice any differences, or maybe not. Then we'll tighten in the circles and return to center once more. Coming back in. And again, the warm-ups are very subtle movements, but sometimes you can feel some pretty big feelings in there, so be aware. Alrighty, we'll come on back down and reset the mountain, lifting each foot if you need to. Then we're going to start to shift our weight, standing nice and tall in our mountain. Just start to shift the weight from side to side. It's not too big of a movement, but as you start to shift, we're going to start pivoting at our heel, lifting the toes. As we start to make a little more movement in the top of the body, that's maybe a slight second or two delayed from the bottom. But as we're shifting, swiveling from side to side, we're just getting a little bit of rotation in the ankles, hips, waist, spine. And with the arms just swinging from that natural momentum, we may get some movement in the shoulders, all on their own. And then we can allow that energy to settle down, and we'll return back to center. Aligning heel to toe once more. Back in our mountain, hips distance apart our feet. Let's see if we can step into our feet, engage the core, firm up the legs. See if we can tuck under the tailbone. Now we're moving on up the body to the shoulders. Palms facing forward. Inhale. See if you can get your sternum to lift even as you inhale to the top of your breath. And then exhaling, feeling that rooting down just a little more. You may even feel the glutes engage. Let's go ahead and inhale. Shoulders are lifting on the inhale. And on the exhale, we just roll them back and down, tucking them into the mid-back on that bottom of the exhale. Engage the core. Let's do a total of 4 breath cycles with the shoulders going up on the inhale and back and down on the exhale. Engaging the core, gently activating your mountain so you're feeling supported. It's one big long column, and we're feeling that movement really in the shoulders. And don't forget that yogic breath. See if we can hear the ocean on both the inhales and the exhales. And we're going to do a second set. And inhaling, up go the shoulders again, but this time roll them forward on the exhale. Still tucking them into the mid-back at the bottom of the exhale. You can imagine just slowly moving through each of these warm-up exercises, focusing on those specific areas, allowing the body as we move on up to just support the rest of the body as we're moving the warm-up exercises upwards. And after that very last exhale, feel a little more rooted, engage the core. And then we'll move on up. So with the next one, if you have to lift up a foot, if you have a tendency to grip the mat, go ahead, reset your mountain. And we're coming on up. Just a gentle tuck of the chin. Hopefully you're getting more of the ear over the shoulder, more of the shoulders over the hips, knees, and ankles. And we'll go ahead and inhale. Feel nice and tall, lifting, if you will, from the crown of the head. Then exhale slowly, right ear towards the right shoulder. Keep a space there. Inhale, lift at the sternum. Exhale, turn the gaze. And just let it stop where it naturally does. If you notice your shoulders caving inwards, rotate the palms forward. And it's another 4 breath cycles. That's usually our good warm-up number here. To see if you can release on the left side of the neck, with the eyes assisting. You may even find with the yogic inhale, the rib cage expands sideways as well as upwards. And with that yogic exhale, engaging the core, really feeling a little more rooted. Maybe the eyes can rest at the rightmost of your vision by that very last exhale. After that, just lift the eyes with an inhale. The gaze will turn. See if your crown of the head can lift at the top of the inhale, best that you can. All you have to do is exhale over to the other side. Inhale to feel length. Exhale to turn the gaze. And start using that yogic breath once more to help facilitate the release on the right side of the neck. You may find it from the base of the base of the neck, tops of the shoulders, all the way to the eyes. And after the very last exhale, just bring the eyes, the gaze, the crown of the head to shine towards the ceiling. So all you have to do is float the eyes downward until they rest at the top of the mat, somewhat about 6 feet in front of you. Find that length at the back of the neck, as well as a good tennis ball sized space between the chin and the chest. As you inhale, feel that slight tilt at the crown of the head towards the ceiling. And on the exhales, we're still keeping our shoulders nice and rotated back, and hopefully they're just resting on their way down the exhale. And after the very last breath cycle, go ahead and bring the eyes up with the inhale towards the midline, past the midline, and somewhat above you. Once you can see the ceiling, stop craning the neck and give yourself a lot of space to open up through the throat, the jaw, the brow line. See if you can relax your ears. You can always open the mouth, give yourself a small O opening to a larger opening. You can gently bring the jaw, lower jaw, left to right. All while that yogic breath is helping you to maintain the ease, the steadiness of this pose. And after the very last exhale, go ahead and bring the eyes back to center. And here in our mountain, you can go ahead and shake off that very last position, see if anything is still holding on. Now we're going to start our folds. So coming back into our mountain once more, just energize the fingers downwards. You're reaching down, and then we can inhale those reaching arms upwards. At the top, we might even lift with the torso. Exhale, engage the core. You can bend the knees if you need and start to bring the tailbone back. We're hinging at what feels hopefully like the hips, long back, and you can float down slowly or you can walk your hands down. But as you get towards that half lift position or farther, all we're doing is internally rotating the thighs to help maintain that support from the hips down to the heels. And we're here for about 5 breath cycles in our very first forward fold called the ragdoll. Now here we're just encouraging the upper body to release as the lower body from the hips down to the heels keeps us nice and balanced. If you're feeling like you're tipping forward, go ahead and bring a little more weight towards the heels. Notice if you're rolling to the outer edge of your arches or the inner arches. Just see if you can have that nice, flat, even distribution of weight, but just a little more towards the back of the ankles. And a deeper bend if you're finding it very tight at the back of the legs, calves, hamstrings, Achilles heels. So wherever you are, it takes about 3 to 5 breath cycles to get to a good spot, but hopefully by now you can feel whether or not you're hanging on to your head. Gently give yourself a no, and then a yes movement. Then let the head dangle, let it bobble. Maybe the arms are nice and relaxed. Maybe they're being supported at the thighs, but wherever your upper body limbs are, we're just trying to release from the tailbone all the way to the crown of the head. And as we're probably near to our 5th breath cycle at this point, we're going to prepare to come out with a slow roll up. Engage the core, step into the feet, firm up the legs, bend the knees if you need. And as you press into those legs, lengthening the legs and then tucking under the tailbone, pressing in, lengthening the legs once more so that you can start to bring one disc at a time back up. Last thing to stack is the head. Give yourself a breath or two here. Let the blood rush back to the head. We're going to fold one more time. Reaching once more downward. Inhale, arms upwards. Exhale, fold, hinging at the hips. And bring your arms down if you need to walk them down, or just let the back float on down. Keep the bend to the knees, especially if the legs are tight. And then give yourself 3 breath cycles here, nice and slow. See if alternate shifting of weight from one side to the other, that horizontal plane movement of the sacrum, tailbone. Maybe it's lengthening one leg and then bending that knee, lengthening it a little more and then bending the other leg. See what helps. Then as you near the end of your 3rd breath cycle, we'll come out and you have a choice of either a slow roll up or a straight back. Either way, we're engaging the core, inhaling, and you can bring the hands together if you'd like. And at the top, reaching all the way up, best that we can. Hands down, heart center. And we'll start our walking meditation. So pressing into the palms, engaging the core, bringing standing weight to the left leg. Inhale, right foot up. Exhale that foot down. You can use a heel to midfoot to toe position, or the midfoot to the ball of the foot. But your toes are really important. And once you get that nice stability, you can inhale, lift the other foot, exhale that down. And hopefully it's 1 full breath cycle per step. Moving as slowly as you can. You don't need to bring the foot up very high, but if you want a very challenging walking meditation, you can always hover there with the foot up in the air. But small step or larger step, it's just 1 full step per breath cycle. We'll meet at the top of the mat in our mountain. And looking down at the fingertips, pressing into the palms. Inhale, hands come up. Exhale, separate the palms. And once more fold, engaging the core, fully exhaling, sticking the tailbone back if you need. Come on down to your 3rd fold. Fully exhaled here, wherever your hands are. You're going to press into the hands to help lengthen for a half lift. Lengthen the back, lengthen the legs, best that you can. Keep the bend if you still need. And then exhale, just relax the upper body towards the feet, chest towards the thighs. And if you have blocks here, you can place your hands there. You can place your hands to a lower setting or even to the floor, either side of the feet. We're going to step back 1 foot and then the other foot, or many steps back until you get into a long position, inhaling shoulders over the wrists, nice and long, and then bring the shins down. Untuck the toes and notice where your first modified high plank is. We want to have the shoulders somewhat over the wrists, and you're pressing into those arms once more, making sure the shoulders are nice and wide and supporting the upper body. The bottom portion of the body has the support of the shins, the tops of the ankles, getting a nice stretch there. But if that is cramping up your arches, you can always tuck the toes, whatever works for you. But here, about 5 breath cycles, we're focusing on keeping the belly button engaged, sticking to the spine, and pressing into those arms. Fingers are splayed, middle fingers and index fingers are somewhat towards the top of the mat. And if you were to bend your elbows, they should be bending back towards the back of the mat. Give yourself another inhale, another exhale. And then we're going to tuck the toes with an inhale, lifting up the hips. Exhale, press them back into your first down dog. See where you land. You might have your heels high up. They might be down on the floor. You might want to think about the distance between the feet. Heels can be lifted. You can also think about the distance between the hands and the feet. We want somewhat of an upside down V, but if your upside down V resembles more of a U, that's okay too. We're working where we can. We're here for 5 full breath cycles as well as our first down dog. You can play with your position by rolling the feet all the way to the balls of the feet, if not tiptoes. Feel that lifting of the tailbone towards the ceiling. And you can exhale, bring the chest just a little closer to the thighs. Keep your ears away from the shoulders, but we do want them somewhat in between the upper arms. So as you lengthen from the tailbone down to the heels or balls of feet, and from the tailbone down the arms to the wrists, to the palms, you can feel that downward motion of energy from that fulcrum there, while the hips are still lifting up towards the ceiling. With the next inhale, roll the eyes towards the hands, bend the knees deeply if you need, and we're going to walk the hands, exhaling, walking them to the back of the mat to our fold. Fully exhaled here, inhale, half lift. Use that point of contact at the hands to help. Are you all right? Here. Okay. No. Are you all right? Okay. Sure. Okay. Just stand for a little bit, okay? Until you can feel that rooting once more. So fully exhaled here, we're going to inhale, bend the knees, and slowly roll up or tuck your tailbone under and inhale, engaged core all the way back up to standing. Exhaling, hands down, heart center, and finally down to the sides. All right, so inhaling, we're going to come back up to our second walking meditation. So bringing the hands to heart center, inhaling, walking, standing weight to the left side of the body. Once you have that balance, lift the right foot, exhale it down. Once you find that standing position with the right leg, lift the other foot, exhale that down. And if you start to feel wobbly, it's okay to fall out. but you can also try to press into your palms, engage your core if you've noticed that it's not engaged. And we'll meet at the top of the mat, 1 full breath cycle per step. And at the top of the mat, we'll look down at our fingertips, watch the fingertips rise, separating the palms. Exhale, engage the core, and fold once more. Floating on down, walking the hands down, just allowing the tailbone to stick back as the internal rotation of the thighs enables your torso to come a little deeper into your fold, feeling that hips to heel support there. Inhale, half lift, and exhale, fold once more. Bring the hands down to either blocks, other side of your feet, and walk your feet back. Either 1 step, 2 steps, or many steps back to a high plank once more. And this time we're lifting the shoulders over the wrists, keeping our nice long hypotenuse. Just keep the hands pressing into the mat from the shoulders all the way down to the hands. We're only here for about 3 breath cycles. And you can make sure your core is engaged, pressing into the balls of the feet and feeling the heels to the crown of the head as one nice long hypotenuse. With another inhale, we're going to lift up the hips, start to press on the exhale into those arms so you can start to bring your position into down dog. You may need to widen the feet. You may need to adjust distance between the feet or between the hands and the feet. Give yourself about 3 breath cycles here. You can bend one knee, alternate with the other as you lengthen. You can bounce on the balls of the feet. You can stretch out from the tailbone all the way down to your hands. And noticing once more that high lift at the balls of the feet and that slow exhale downward of the heels towards the mat. And then we can inhale, roll our eyes towards the hands, bend the knees if you need, and walk the hands to the back of the mat. Fully exhaled here at the fold. We're going to inhale, start to walk your hands up, or you can engage the core and come up with a straight back. And at the top, we're lifting even with the fingertips as we exhale, hands down, heart center. And 1 more walking meditation. Inhaling, standing weight to the left side, exhaling the foot down. Inhaling the left foot up, exhaling it down. Engaging the core throughout will really help you maintain a little more balance. Do what you can. Sometimes I fall out, and that's all right. And at the top of the mat, we're going to look down at the fingertips, pressing into the palms. Watch the fingertips rise. Lift all the way up at the top, separating the palms. We're engaging the core on the exhale. Hinge at the hips and fold. Stick the tailbone out, bend the knees if you need. Come on down for another fold. Fully exhaled here, maybe a little closer to the mat. Inhale, half lift. Lengthen through the back, feel length at the legs as well. And exhale, fold. Bring the torso towards the thighs. And then once more, we're going to step, bring either hands down to the mat, and walk the feet back. Nice and long. Inhale, shoulders over the wrists. Another 3 full breath cycles here. Feel a little stronger, pressing into those arms, making sure you're looking down, straight at the mat. 1 more inhale. 1 more exhale. Then inhale, lift the hips. Exhale, bring the hips back into down dog. See where your heels land. Make any adjustments that you need. Fully exhaled here. Taking about 2 more breath cycles. Inhaling, keeping the bend to the knees if that feels good, but seeing if you can lengthen the legs. And that always feels very nice with an inhale and then relaxing into a further extension. Maybe you're lowering of the heels. With the next inhale, roll the eyes towards the hands. Exhale, bend the knees if you need, engage the core, walk the hands to the back of the mat, to the fold. Fully exhaled here. Inhale, half lift. Engage your core. Exhale. Inhale, bend the knees if you need. Come on back with a straight back or a slow curl up, but either way, engaged core and an inhale, lengthening all the way back to the top. Exhaling, hands down, heart center. And hopefully you feel a little warmer. Hopefully your heart rate's just a little higher. And we're going to be moving now towards that standing position of wide legs. We're going to work on this. So if you have a chair or if you have blocks, now a chair is really good if you're having difficulty folding forward and you need that extra bit of support. It's kind of like when you're supporting your upper body by the the forearms. But just coming with the side view of the chair, what we want is our feet about a little wider than hips distance apart for now. But if the wide-legged forward fold is a part of your practice, go ahead and go at your regular width. Typically, if it's a part of your practice, you can think about 3 to 4 feet in between each foot. But if you have tight hips, it might be just one square tile, 1 square foot. So just call it out for your own. What we're looking for is just enough of a abduction, a moving away from the feet being right under the hips, just slightly wider than usual. And then we want to start to move that center of gravity where the heels are going to pivot outwards just slightly more. So you might roll onto the balls of the feet slightly. And you'll find an internal rotation of those thighs. And you can keep the bend to the knees if the backs of the legs are tight. You can keep your hands to your hips. That'll require much more core strength here. But as we're inhaling, feel that lifting of the chest, engage the core, engage the glutes, and we're going to hinge at the hips once more. And somewhat in front of us, we might find the blocks. You might have the blocks in your hands. And as we move into more of that half fold position, that's where the tailbone really needs to stick outwards, the internal rotation. You'll feel more of the inner arches touching the floor as your pelvic bowl has a little more space with the way that the thighs are rotated outwards and just abducting more. So again, you can keep a bend to the knee if you need, but you should hopefully feel that hinging right here at the hips so that you can get a nice stretch. Now, if the chair is there, you can use the chair to hopefully help guide you. If you've got your blocks, you might even just have yourself in this somewhat of a fold with wide legs, with once more your forearms at the thighs. But wherever you are, you're just trying to find that good stability from the heels all the way to the hips all the way to the heels with this wide-legged pose. Now down a little further, you might be able to heel toe it out a little more. Just see where you can go. And it's always nice to keep your legs nice and long, but you can keep that micro bend to the knees if you need. So at some point you should feel really nice and relaxed, like when we're in a forward fold, but with your legs just a little wider. Your fingers might be at the floor, they might be on the tops of your feet, they might be at your ankles, they might just be a hold of that cushion, the chair cushion. But hopefully what you're just doing is allowing the upper body to relax while you still feel that engagement on all points of the soles of the feet, as well as the glutes all the way down to the heels, engaging the core. Now give yourself a half lift position if you can imagine, about a 90-degree angle here at the hips. Now you might have the blocks there, you might be just here where you're holding engaging the core. You might keep your hands to your hips to keep them nice and honest. And then exhale. Go ahead and come back to the fold. See what relaxes in your body, but try to keep the core engaged while the legs are still supporting you. And if you have a block down there, if you have your hand to the floor, you might be able to lift one shoulder and turn the gaze slightly to one side, same side as your arm that's lifted. Exhale, bring that arm down, bring the torso back to center. Fully exhaled here. Inhale. See if you can look to the other side and bring that other hand up. It doesn't have to be straight up, it can be out to the side. Just make sure that you're opening up through the shoulder and you're not moving the shoulder in any way that's uncomfortable for you. Exhale, bring the arm down, bring the gaze and the torso back to center. And then inhale, engage the core. And make sure you're stepping into the feet, and you can use the chair if you need, and we're going to come all the way back up. Inhaling, engaging the core, making sure you're stepping into those legs, and lifting all the way up, tucking under the tailbone, and the chest should help lift up the torso. And you have a slight gentle engagement of the glutes, but hopefully you're feeling your legs are still active, nice and supported. We'll go ahead and keep the arms, keep the hands intertwined, arms in front of you, and see if you can push away with the palms. Thumbs are down. See if you can inhale, bend the elbows, and then bring the palms together, and once more, push away with the exhale. Inhale, bring the elbows to bend. Exhale, push out the palms. And then we're going to inhale, bring the palms together, push out the knuckles. And then see if you can inhale, bring up your fist. See if you can do it above your head while they're still connected, but if you have to release, that's okay. Now with this, we're going to lift up with the chest, press into the balls of the feet, internally rotating those thighs, feeling the heels planted, all points of inner and outer arches planted as you're reaching up. Exhale once more, hands down, heart center, and then shoulders nice and relaxed. We'll go ahead and bend at the knees and bring in the heels. Bring that heel to toe alignment right underneath the hips once more. And give yourself any counter movements, any gentle bending at the knees. And we'll turn around. Let's see how we're doing on time. Not bad. Okay, so now we're going to come on down. We actually have time for a few more of our poses down on the mat. You can sit in the chair if you'd like, or you can come all the way down to a squatting position, kneel, and then let's meet in bridge. So when you're in the chair, all that looks like is just being at the very edge. Your sits bones should be at the very edge of the chair. Now, if I'm facing forward, you may not see very well, but I just want you to know if you're on the side, you're going to have your sits bone right here at the side of the chair. If you're here facing forward, you'd have it at the very edge of the chair. And as you sit down, you're bringing your knees to a 90-degree angle. And this is basically your version of bridge. And you just keep your back nice and straight and relaxed. And I'm going to come on down to the mat. Now, we're going to be windshield wiping. You can windshield wipe this way. You can windshield wipe where you're kind of giving yourself a twist. But you can also do the windshield wiping while you're in the chair. And then eventually, what we'll be doing is meeting in butterfly by just bringing the inner arches together. So you can, again, do this all in chair. Try not to round your back, however. You want to keep your upper torso as straight as possible. So as you're in your base bridge position, whether on the mat or on the chair, we're going to start to loosen up those hips, those glutes that were just really active a moment ago by gently windshield wiping from one side to the other. If you have a strong core, you can just keep the arms relaxed and you let the weight of the knees just roll to one side. If you need your upper body to help support this movement, you can always keep the palms down, arms lengthened at about a foot away from your hips. But what we're doing is giving ourselves a windshield wipe lengthy for the first set here. And what you can do is just notice how it feels to have your knees drop to one side. We're not really moving our feet position. They're just going on the outer right edge of our feet. And then as we inhale, you can assist your knees back up, but you want to engage the core. If you're not going to use the assistance of your hands, just make sure the core is engaged and the sacrum rolls flat back onto the mat. Knees are lifted towards the ceiling, or if you're sitting in the chair, you're back in your 90-degree sitting position. And then we'll go ahead and let the knees drop to the other side. Give yourself a few breaths here to just relax into this windshield wipe to the left side. Keeping the yogic breath nice and long. It's usually about 5 to 6 breath cycles, seconds per breath cycle. When we're first here starting our practice, our breath tends to be on the shallower side. It's usually 2 to 3 seconds. But once we start to lengthen the time of that inhale, bring in the pauses in between, the exhales, then we start to lengthen into more of a 5 to 6 second breath cycle. Okay, let's go ahead and inhale. Assist if you need, but bring the knees back up to center. And then we're going to windshield wipe with a little faster frequency from left to right. So now you have a little more space. Engage the core as you bring the knees back up. Windshield wipe to the other side. And again, you're just rolling on the outer edge of the feet, not really moving the position of the feet more than you are just letting the knees drop to the side. Just a couple times on either side. Hopefully feel a little more lubricated in the hips and a little massage, if you will, on the glutes. And then we'll come back to starting to bring the feet into a butterfly position. So start to inch the inner soles together. And you might have just the outer edge of the feet being rolled, so your ankles get a nice stretch. If you're able to bring the soles of the feet together, then go ahead and do so. And again, if you're sitting upright in the chair, try not to curve the back. It might just be that you need to baby step your way in. You want to keep the back as nice and long as possible. And if you find that you can bring the soles of the feet together, then you can play with bringing the heels a little closer towards you. If you're sitting in the chair, you can bring it even closer if you place them on blocks once your practice allows you to move comfortably with your feet in this somewhat butterfly position. And for those of you on the mat in your bridge position, just let the knees open up. If you're finding it's a little too much discomfort for your level, you can always place some blocks right there to help support the legs. Sometimes that just helps the body not to fear that it's doing something it's, not capable of doing. Sometimes just having gravity there to help you open up enables you to get a good deep stretch. And notice if you're arching your back, you really just want to relax. If you're sitting upright, just use those muscles needed to keep the torso upright. If you're on the mat, you'll have the benefit of just being supported by the earth. And with each passing breath, we've gone past our 3 to 5 breath cycle to find our sweet spot. But then we're going towards that 5 to 10 extra breaths to turn this into a nice long hold. where we can benefit from that lengthier hold, overriding our body's own protective reflexes, and just creating minutia space, a little more than usual in these very tight hip areas, ankle areas, and hopefully other parts of your body are not being contracted or unnecessarily activated because it might be a little harder to hold. Call your yogic breath in to help maintain this space. All right, give yourself another good inhale, another good exhale. And then we're going to help our knees come back to center with our hands. And as we do so, start to allow the soles of the feet to make its way back onto the mat. Widen the feet stand just a little more than usual so that you can let the knees knock inward and relax there for just a moment or two to counter stretch. And then bring the feet and heel to toe alignment back to center. Soles on the feet, on the floor, nice and flat. And we're just going to, if you're in the chair, stay put for a moment there, but if you're on the mat, we're going to let the knees drop to one side. It doesn't matter which side, but we're coming into a fetal position so we can use our kickstand hand and our forearm to lift the torso to an upright position, and we're going to just separate our knees and come into a deer. Now on the chair, all you're going to do is separate your feet about hips distance apart and gently twist over to one side. So your torso will twist and your knees will just slightly move along as you just move the torso over to one side in this somewhat modified deer position while you're on the chair. And while you're on the mat, you can deepen this by bringing the forearm down. You can bring something under your like your block or a roll blanket under your rib cage if you like. And then you can come into your deer a little lower, stretching out your right arm if you need. You want to make sure that your back leg is pointed away, not flexed foot, so that you mind the knees just a little more. And you're just supporting the weight with either the farthest left forearm, or you might just be on the floor with your head on pillowed hands. Now, stay there. Once you find your sweet spot, you're breathing 5 to 10 breath cycles. And if you're in the chair wondering what I'm talking about, I'll demonstrate in just a moment, coming back to the chair. But mat people, just use your yogic breath and hopefully find a little more release. So this is all we're doing here. We're not falling out of the chair, so make sure your hands have a good hold of the edge of that chair seat, and just let your knees drop to that side if that feels good. You're rolling on the edge. If you can completely turn a little more, you might have the knees just a little closer on this side. And you too can get a stretch in the upper body, holding onto the back of the chair, or just suspending that arm and feeling that stretch. And even though we're twisted and it's difficult to get that full breath in, see if you can breathe slowly in. Sometimes it helps us to get a gentle massage in our viscera. So just making sure you have that nice, deep, slow yogic breath, even though we're constricted in this twist. When you're ready to come out, we're going to inhale, slowly bring the face in line with the torso, and then bring the torso back up. You can use your kickstand hand to come all the way back up to seated. We're coming up, and then we're just going to hopefully move on over to the other side. And it's a slow, gentle movement. If you're really tight in the hips, you're going to have to find your way there. And here we are on the other side, in the chair. I'm going to be coming back down to the mat, but you can stay in your chair and stay on your deer on the right-hand side if you're in the mat. And I will join you, and we will hopefully have a similar position here. So as you were here, and coming all the way back up, so that all we do is just roll on our backside to the other side, setting up this position on this side. Making sure that back foot is not flexed, but pointed back behind you. And it might be tighter on this side, but make your adjustments. And it takes about 3 to 5 breath cycles just to feel that we're in a safe position that we can hold with comfort and ease. And then we can think about 5 to 10 more breath cycles. That yogic breath really enhancing the inhale, bringing as much energy into the body, even as we're twisted. With each exhale, you might find a slow peeling away of activated layers of muscles. And you can always enhance, bring into the pose that upper limb stretch. And as you close out your very last breath cycle, we'll come out of the stretch with an inhale, bringing the torso up, bringing the gaze and the torso in one position, and then starting to slowly make our way back to center. And here, we're going to move directly into Shavasana, but it will be a guided Shavasana, a bit of contraction where you're just really actively contracting a body part that I call out, and then we'll release that. We'll start with some major areas from head down to the toes, and then after that, it should help you really smoothly sail into your Shavasana. If you're in the chair, you can also do this. You want to sit upright and keep your knees bent and your back upright, but when you go to relax, you just be kind of soft. You can also just make your way down to the mat and join us, but use your chair if you'd like to get fully flat on the mat. I'll be sitting upright to mind the time. Now, as you move into Shavasana, you're laying flat on the back and keeping the legs either together or they can be slightly rolled out so that they're pointing towards the corners of the mat. But in Shavasana, we're just allowing the practice, the body to feel the practice, the effects, the immediate effects. And so you want to be as comfortable as possible. Arms can be out at the side, shoulders nice and relaxed. In Shavasana, we're laying flat on our back, unless you're in a chair and you'd like to sit upright. But in Shavasana now, we're going to have the guided meditation. So unless you gentlemen want to sit upright, I recommend laying flat on the mat. There you go. And having the palms facing forward, up towards the ceiling. If you're cold, lay a blanket on you. But thinking of all the muscles on your head. Excuse me, we're going to start actually at the feet. Thinking of all the muscles at your feet. Start to contract your feet. Contract the muscles in the toes, in the arches. Keep them nice and engaged. Just keep them engaged and active. Contract, 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 and then release. You can wiggle the toes. You can just let go. Then the calves and the feet. Contract everything in the calves, in the feet, the toes. Crunch them up if you need to, but see if you can just activate those muscles in the calves and in the toes. Nice and tight, and then release. See if you can jiggle at the ankles. See if you can release through the toes. With the next inhale, we're going to contract the toes, the calves, the thighs. Really start to engage everything there. Contract, contract, contract. And then release. Let the legs be nice and soft. With the next inhale, contract the feet, the thighs. The legs are nice and tight. The belly, nice and tight, contracted, active. And then release. Take a deep breath. Feel nice and long and soft in the legs, down to the toes. The next inhale, contract the feet, the legs, the belly, the shoulders, the chest, the shoulders, all the way down the belly, down the thighs, down to the toes. Nice and contracted, one active. And then release. Nice deep breath. And then inhale, start to contract the feet, the thighs, the belly, the shoulders, the arms, fist. Make nice tight fists with your fingers. Extend through the arms. Everything from the shoulders down are active and tight, contracted. And then release. With our very last inhale, we're going to contract everything in the body, from the legs all the way through the belly, to the shoulders, to the fists, to the neck and the face. Scrunch up the face, give your everything you've got in there, a scowl, everything nice and hard. Clench the teeth, and then release. And for the next 5 minutes, just let the body respond to today's practice. Let the belly be soft. Let the tongue release from the top of the roof of the mouth. And the fingers just naturally unfurled, slight curl. And when you hear the 3 bells, we'll awaken. Bringing the mind back to the body, taking note of sounds outside the room, sounds within the room, and finally back to the breath. Notice the air as it enters the nose and as it exits the nose. And you can wiggle your feet, toes. You can wiggle the fingers, rock your body. You can move into a fetal position and help yourself up. Or you can roll back and forth on either side of your spine, on that nice meaty part, and rock and roll your way back up if that feels good. But we'll be meeting in an easy seated position once more. We're just going to give ourselves a nice little breath cycle to end class, breath exercise. So sitting up nice and tall. We'll give ourselves some time just to open up through the shoulders with our very last breath cycle. So inhaling, palms up at our side here. Let's go ahead and bring them overhead or out in front of us at a tangent. Palms together. Inhale. Exhale, palms away down. Inhale, palms up. Exhale, palms down. Once more, inhale up. But this time keep them separate. And then we're going to turn, exhaling, bring them down. Inhale up. Turn back to center. Exhale to the other side, bringing them down. Another round. Inhale up. Exhale over. One last one. Inhale up. Exhale over. One more up. Turning to face center, hands down, heart center. Thank you so much for joining us here at the ACC's noontime gentle yoga. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste. Yay! Yay! Hope you have a wonderful day. Drink lots of water. Very, very dry time. And I'm here for a few minutes afterwards if you have any questions, comments, or feedback. But other than that, have a great day. Thank you.